If you love life, don't waste time, for time is what life is made up of. Bruce Lee. We often imagine that life is built upon money, fame, or grand dreams. But deeper down, life is actually composed of every hour and minute we have lived, every moment we have felt, and every second we dared to love or lost ourselves. Time is like an underground stream, silently flowing through each person's soul. It makes no sound, yet it is powerful enough to erode all arrogance, heal all wounds, and can also wash away an entire lifetime if we live superficially. There are those who wake up every morning with hearts full of light, viewing each day as a gift. But there are also those who live like dry leaves caught in the wind of habit, letting time pass by in unconsciousness. The most terrifying thing is not growing old, but growing old without ever truly living. A meaningless day repeated many times will turn the soul into an oxygen-deprived room where dreams gradually suffocate. People often suffer over the loss of money or the loss of love, but the thing lost the most is the years that can never return. A word left unsaid, a hug never given, an opportunity one didn't dare to take. All will eventually lie still in memory, like ships that forever miss their voyage. Those who know how to cherish time are usually those who understand their own value. They do not easily fall into meaningless arguments, nor do they let negative emotions gnaw at their souls for too long. They understand that every minute of anger is a portion of life stolen away. To them, time is not a clock hanging on the wall, but the heartbeat pulsing within their chest. The more we mature, the more we realize living is not about existing for a long time, but about making every moment have depth. An hour spent with a loved one is sometimes worth more than months of chasing flashy things. The most beautiful life does not lie in how fast we go, but in whether we are truly present in our journey. Live as if each day is a blank page that can only be written upon once. Let time be the artist that paints your soul with experience, gratitude, and mindfulness. Because in the end, when looking back at life, what makes a person smile is not how much they owned, but how deeply they lived within the finite time that Providence bestowed. Don't settle for what life gives you. Make life better and build something. Ashton Kutcher. Life is not a soft chair for people to sit and enjoy, but a wasteland that needs to be reclaimed by will, aspiration, and the calluses of experience. There are those who spend their whole lives just waiting for luck to knock on the door, like someone standing by the shore hoping the waves will wash a treasure to their feet. But there are also those who understand that the value of a life does not lie in how much they receive, but in what they have created for this world. Settling too early is often the invisible cage that imprisons human potential. When a person accepts mediocrity for too long, their mind gradually loses the ability to dream big. They live like stagnant water calm but lacking vitality. Meanwhile, those who dare to build, who dare to change, are like a powerful river breaking through rocks to open a path. They do not deny difficulties, but view adversity as the raw material to forge character. It is that very process of striving that creates the depth of the soul. For humans do not truly grow when life is easy, but when they know how to turn pain into motivation and failure into a stepping stone for growth. Building something does not necessarily mean grand structures or resounding fame. Sometimes, it is simply building a soul more beautiful than yesterday, a family full of love, a dream pursued to the end, or simply planting a little positive light in the hearts of others. The most precious thing in a person's life is not to exist like a shadow passing through the years, but to leave a trace of life in the hearts of others. A person who knows how to create value will not live with a feeling of emptiness, because they understand that every day is an opportunity to rebirth themselves. Life always has a tendency to pull people toward complacency. It lulls us with short-term pleasures, making many forget that time is silently eroding their youth. But strong souls will not accept standing still. They see each day as a brick to build a better version of themselves. And in the end, what makes a person feel proud is not what they received from life, but what they courageously created with their own hands and will. The achievements of today are the impossibilities of yesterday. Robert H. Schuller. Every great thing that ever existed in the world was once considered crazy, unrealistic, or impossible. Humans today are living amidst miracles that ancestors in the past only dared to entrust to their imagination. From touching the sky and talking across continents to healing diseases once considered death sentences, all were born from minds that dared to believe in what no one had seen. The most miraculous thing about life is not in technology or power, but lies in the infinite capacity of the human will when it refuses to surrender to limits. We are often bound by the cage of our current perception. We easily assume that what we haven't seen cannot exist, and what we haven't achieved is forever impossible. That is fear in the shape of familiarity. But history is always rewritten by those who dare to step out of that fear. The people who change the world are often those who were once doubted the most. They are like seeds, deep beneath the dark soil, buried and trampled upon, yet internally preparing for a powerful ascent. Achievement does not appear in the comfort zone. It is born from long, lonely nights, from the times failure shattered the heart, and moments of fighting against one's own doubt. We often only see the glow of success while forgetting that behind it lie countless times of persevering in silence. A child who once didn't know how to walk will eventually run. A person once weak can become strong. A dream once ridiculed can become the symbol of an entire era. Life always moves in such a way. What we see as a limit today, tomorrow may be only the starting line. Therefore, the greatest development of a human being does not lie in how much they possess, but in how far they dare to expand their belief. Never underestimate your own ability to change. You might be confused, small, and full of wounds today, but that does not decide your future. Someday, your own strong and mature future self will look back at this present as a distant memory, a place where limits existed that you have since surpassed. And then you will understand, things that seemed impossible were sometimes just things that hadn't happened yet. In life, all good things come hard, but wisdom is the hardest to come by. Lucille Ball. True values are never handed out for free. A rose must go through winter to bloom brilliantly. A diamond must endure extreme pressure deep underground to become sparkling. And humans are the same. We only mature after the silent collisions of life. What is easy often only brings momentary pleasure, while precious things always demand payment in time, experience, and even emotional wounds. But of all the things difficult to achieve, wisdom is the rarest peak, for it does not simply come from knowledge, but is distilled from pain, loss, and the ability to understand oneself. We often confuse being smart with being wise. Intelligence helps a person react quickly to the world, while wisdom helps them understand the deep essence of life. A smart person can win an argument, but a wise person knows when to stay silent. The smart try to prove they are right, while the wise try to keep their soul at peace. Wisdom does not come from age or books, but from times people dared to face failure without becoming bitter, dared to walk through betrayal without losing faith in love and life. There are lessons that life does not teach with words, but with a choking sensation in the heart. Only one who has lost what they loved understands the value of presence. Only one who has been lonely understands how much kindness can redeem a soul. And only one who has walked through darkness knows how to appreciate the light. Wisdom is like a lamp lit after the soul has had to grope through the night many times. It makes us stop looking at life through the shallow eyes of instinct, but through the depth of empathy and mindfulness. What is special about wisdom is that it is often not loud. The wise are like deep rivers, quiet but powerful. They don't need to compete to affirm their value, because they understand that time is the ultimate judge. Life can take away money, youth, or the things we once held, but wisdom is an asset that no one can steal. It helps a person walk through storms without losing themselves. And perhaps that is the noblest beauty that a soul can reach after the long journey of life. We have two lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one. Most of us live as if time is a river that never runs dry. We delay important things, hold back unspoken words of love, waiting for a suitable tomorrow to start living truly as ourselves. But then there comes a certain moment after a loss, a turning point, or simply a very quiet night, when a person suddenly realizes their life is finite, and at that very moment, the second life begins. The first life is often a series of days lived by inertia. We chase societal expectations, try to please others, and dive into endless competitions to prove our self-worth. Many people laugh a lot but are empty inside. They are like actors who have memorized their roles but forgotten the real face behind the makeup. Modern life keeps people so busy that they lose the ability to listen to their own souls. We spend hours staring at screens, but not enough minutes looking deep into what our hearts are lacking. Then, one day, time awakens us. It could be seeing our parents' hair turning gray, witnessing a loved one depart forever, or when we ourselves collapse under invisible pressures. We begin to understand that life is not as long as we thought. Things we once stubbornly fought over suddenly become small. Things once considered vital turn out to be as fragile as dust. And from there, we learn to live slower, deeper, and more honestly. That is the second life, the life of awakening. This awakening is like a person stepping out of a dark room that has imprisoned them for too long. They no longer live just to exist, but begin to live to feel. They cherish time, value, health, love sincerely, and learn to let go of toxic things. The person who once lived to be recognized will start living to be at peace. The person who once feared loneliness will understand that what's more frightening is losing oneself in a crowd. The second life doesn't start with age, but with awareness. Some grow old without ever awakening, while others, after just one life event, understand the deep meaning of existence. Realizing we only have one life, we stop wasting time on resentment, pretense, and meaningless races. We begin to live like a candle that knows it will go out, so it tries to burn as brightly and warmly as possible. And that is when life is no longer merely existing, but becomes a journey truly worth living. If what you did yesterday still looks big to you, you haven't done much today. Mikhail Gorbachev. This does not deny the value of the past, but reminds us that complacency is an invisible anchor holding us still amidst the flow of progress. Yesterday's success might have been a peak we were proud of, but if today we still stand there just to admire it, that mountain will gradually turn into a prison of the mind. Life does not reward those who sleep on their victories. It only clears the path for those who dare to keep walking, despite having achieved something admirable. Humans are very prone to getting addicted to the feeling of being recognized. A compliment, an achievement, a glorious moment can make the ego want to hold on to the old aura forever. That is why many people live more by memory than by aspiration. They keep telling stories of what they once did, like an old warrior clutching a rusted sword, while the world outside continues to change incessantly. The most dangerous thing is not failure, but being satisfied too early. When a person stops growing, the soul begins to age even before the body does. Truly great people usually do not spend too much time praising themselves. They view each achievement only as a temporary step. Thus, they always maintain a sense of not yet enough, not from a lack of confidence, but because they understand human potential is much vaster than current limits. Just as the ocean is never satisfied with the waves that hit the shore yesterday, those with aspiration always want to create new movements in their lives. They understand that if they don't learn more, advance further, or surpass their old self today, then they are silently falling behind. Let today be proof that you are still growing. You don't need to create great things to catch the world's attention. Just being a little better, a little deeper, or a little stronger every day is already a victory to be proud of. For the true value of a person lies not in how brightly they once shone, but in the ability to keep lighting their own fire after each day has passed. Life is like a sky that is always in motion. If you keep looking at the old sunset, you will miss the dawn forming ahead. And only when daring to step forward do we understand. Our best version was never in the past, but is always ahead, waiting to be discovered. If my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it, Muhammad Ali. Our minds are like a map that hasn't been finished. What we can imagine are the first paths sketched upon that map. No building was ever constructed before it existed in someone's imagination. No great journey began without once being visualized in a quiet moment of the mind. What seems impossible today might simply be not yet clearly designed in thought. Imagination is not a departure from reality, but the deepest beginning of all reality. But visualization alone is not enough. We also need a heart to believe. For between an idea and reality, there always exists an invisible void called doubt. Many dreams die not because they weren't feasible, but because the dreamer didn't believe enough that they were worthy, or capable enough to reach them. Belief is like the blood that feeds the will. When the heart believes, a person begins to act with an inner certainty, not because everything is easy, but because they have no other choice but to move forward. When we continuously visualize a better version of ourselves, the brain begins to adjust behavior to match that image. We no longer act like the old person, but gradually become the person we imagined. Belief doesn't change the world immediately, but it changes how we walk in the world. And it is that way of walking that decides the final result. The road from idea to reality is never smooth. There will be times reality denies belief, moments when we doubt our own vision. That is when many stop, but it is also when others grow. For true belief is not a feeling of constant certainty, but the ability to keep walking even when that certainty is shaken. Just as a seed cannot see the tree in the darkness of the earth, we must also learn to believe in what is not yet present. When the mind dares to imagine and the heart dares to believe, we are no longer limited by what is, but begin to live in the potential of what can be. Life then is no longer a repetition of the present, but becomes a process of non-stop creation. And then, every achievement once considered extraordinary is actually just the natural result of a mind that dared to dream big enough, and a heart that dared to believe deep enough. Never allow a person to tell you no who doesn't have the power to say yes, Eleanor Roosevelt. In life, it is very easy to surrender the power of decision to others without realizing it. A negative word from someone who doesn't understand our journey can be enough to shake an entire dream. We start shrinking ourselves to fit alien expectations, only to gradually lose our inner voice. When that happens, the yes or no of our life no longer originates from ourselves, but is controlled by those who have never lived our life. And that is how we turn ourselves into outsiders in our own story. But not everyone has the right to say yes or no to you. That right should only belong to those who understand the journey, respect the values, and truly care about your growth. That could be yourself when you are mature enough to listen to yourself, or true companions who see potential instead of just reflecting fear. Otherwise, most external opinions are just the fleeting sounds of the world, not deep enough to touch the core decisions of your life. Liberation from the control of those who have no right is an important step in maturing. It helps a person move from living for approval to living by internal values. Then, each decision is no longer measured by the eyes of others, but is weighed by the peace and correctness within oneself. A mature person is not someone who never listens to feedback, but someone who knows how to distinguish which words reflect the truth and which are just the limitations of the speaker. Life is already loud enough. If we let every external voice become a verdict on our choices, we will forever stand at the crossroads of hesitation. But when we learn how to keep the power of yes and no for ourselves, the world becomes much lighter. Not because everything is easier, but because we are no longer pulled away by voices that don't belong to our journey. And that is when we truly start living our own life, rather than living in a version approved by others. A dream can be more than just a dream. You can make it a reality. If you keep working and trying, you will eventually reach your goal. Naomi Osaka. A dream, if only kept in the heart, will forever be a beautiful picture hanging on the wall of memory. But when nourished by action, by persistence, and by refusing to give up, it begins to transform from a thought into a path. Dreams are often stolen by three things: doubt, fear, and procrastination. We start with brilliant excitement, but gradually get eroded by questions like, can I really do this? What if I fail? It's okay to start tomorrow. And in those seemingly harmless moments, the distance between us and our dreams begins to widen. But what few realize is that dreams don't disappear, they only wait to see if we are persistent enough to return to them. Effort is the language that dreams can understand. It doesn't need promises or momentary emotional bursts, but requires regular, persistent, and conscious appearance. Every time you try a little more, no matter how small, you are silently pulling the dream closer to reality. Like a drop of water patiently eroding a rock, not by immediate force, but by constant repetition. Success rarely comes from a burst of momentum, but is usually accumulated from countless, seemingly ordinary instances. What matters is not how fast you go, but whether you keep going. There are days when we feel tired, doubt ourselves, or even want to quit. But those very days are where dreams are truly tested. For only those who continue to walk when they no longer have inspiration truly touch the essence of perseverance. It is in that very fatigue that we grow the strongest. A dream is not a luxury reserved for a few special people, but an inherent ability within everyone. The only difference lies in how many people are patient enough to turn it into a long-term journey. When we no longer view a dream as a distant destination, but as a process built every day, each small step today is a part of something great tomorrow. A dream is no longer something to merely dream about, but becomes something gradually being lived in our own life. We will fail if we do not try. Rosa Parks. Failure doesn't always come from doing something wrong, but often from doing nothing at all. The silence of inaction is sometimes more frightening than a mistake, because a mistake at least proves that we once stepped out of our comfort zone, while not trying means voluntarily standing still as time passes by. Procrastination and fear often disguise themselves in many forms. It's not the right time, I'm not ready, another time will be better. But behind those reasons is often the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, or the fear of facing the truth that one is not perfect. And that very hesitation, over time, accumulates into a form of silent failure, the failure of unopened potential. We don't fall because we tried and didn't succeed, but often because we never dared to try long enough. Trying doesn't guarantee absolute success, but it guarantees that we don't live in regret. Each effort is like a brick laid in the foundation of the future. Even if the complete building isn't visible today, it is those very bricks that decide whether the structure can stand firm. When we choose not to try, we not only give up the result, but also give up the opportunity to grow during the process. For the true value of effort lies not just at the destination, but in the transformation of the person on that journey. The greatest failure is not failing to reach a goal, but never giving oneself a fair chance to try. A person can lose 100 times and still be a winner internally if they never stop getting up. Conversely, someone who never starts might have already failed a long time ago without realizing it. Trying is the way we affirm that we are living actively, not just existing passively amidst the flow of life. We will understand that life does not demand that we be perfect, but only that we do not stand still. For as long as we keep trying, we still have the ability to change, the ability to move forward, and the opportunity to rewrite our own story.